What's up? It's Juice Beats back again with another race video, and this one is the Gateway Cup in St. Louis. This is the Tour de Lafayette, so this is the first race in the series. This is kind of an evening race. There's close to 100 guys in here, all racing in the 2-3 field, so it's going to be fast, it's going to be tough. And you can already see I'm already doing 1300 watts straight out the gate. Gotta kind of establish myself at the beginning of the race into a position and get going. Never done this race before. This is the first time I've been at these races. I didn't realize how big they were. I'd been to St. Louis earlier in the year and did a couple races in the parks earlier in the year, but this one is much bigger. This is like the national stage, so there's national teams here, national pro racers, and yeah, the 2-3 field was pretty stacked. And so at the beginning of this race, basically my mindset, since I don't have any teammates in this race, I was supposed to have two other teammates, and one couldn't make it on this day, and the other ended up getting, I think, a job or something like that that he had to work on, so he wasn't able to make it out to St. Louis for the weekend. So riding solo, which is going to be tough in a field this big with some other teams that have hitters in there and are going to be controlling the race as well. So yeah, by myself, my strategy is really just kind of get the flow of things down. I didn't get a chance to jump on the track beforehand and get used to it or anything like that. So yeah, I guess the first couple laps is kind of getting used to the turns and just getting used to the speed of things and seeing what wheels I need to follow, what I need to do in this one. So it was it's kind of a learning experience at the beginning here. Now I just want to get this one out the way. I brought the fam, and we were out at the St. Louis Zoo for most of the day before this, so I probably tired myself out a little bit before this race, just being on my feet a little bit too much. But no, yeah, I'm not using that as an excuse or anything for this race, and I don't think I did terribly in this race. There's some things that obviously I could clean up and things that thinking about after I did this race that I would want to change, but for the most part I think obviously I held in there and did pretty well in this one. I didn't win this one, so spoiler. Just some quick stats for you. So this was a 55-minute race. We averaged 29.1 miles an hour, or I averaged 29.1 miles an hour, so over 29 miles an hour. 279 watts, 1395 watt max, and a 317 normalized. So from what I remember in this race, I felt pretty good going into it, felt pretty strong, but this, being later on in the day, doing all those things beforehand and, jumping in here, I felt a little bit more tired than I probably should have. Normally when I do later races, so like just for example, when I go to the Nashville races, they're a little bit later in the day for me, but I haven't done anything before that. I'm just, I'm riding in the car on the way there, and then when I get there, I warm up and then jump into the race. This one, we were here the night before so that I could get here for the race, and then, instead of sitting around in the hotel and resting my legs, I was, walking around the zoo for several hours. I did, come back to the hotel and rest a couple hours before I got to the races, but yeah, I think just that extra little toll, I guess, took a little bit more on me and made me a little bit more tired. Still not an excuse though. for the race. I think there's some other things in this race that would have definitely helped me out better. And there's a big wreck there. I think we're a couple laps into the race, and I think somebody just overlapped wheels there and went down. A couple of guys actually jumped back into the race, and I think they ended up doing pretty well. But yeah, that's just unfortunate, like in the first few laps to go down like that. And then this happened on the very next turn. My 360 camera decided it wanted to go for a ride and come off. And so yeah, I lost my 360 camera for this race. Luckily, some kids found it off to the side of the road and turned it in, and I was able to get it back. And there's only like a tiny scratch on the lens, so nothing too bad there. And of course, I was out there without the lens covers, so I didn't protect it the way I probably should have, but it's all good. Just a little tiny scratch on the lens. Doesn't really affect it too much. Like obviously I used it for the next couple races that I did in this weekend, and was able to still get good footage and everything. So you'll see that in future races here. But yeah, so all I've got is the back camera left over, and from my DJI camera. So here we go, 20 minutes into the race, and normally in the 3-4 or the Cat 3 races before, this would be kind of halfway, so 40-45 minute races. We're in a 55-minute race, so my timing for moving up is usually around halfway, or that's just kind of how I've done it in the past races. And so, thinking about that and thinking about where I am and how many minutes we are into this race, I was thinking about I needed to move up to the front. Not like in where I was sitting, back in the peloton. So I'm making a little move here, and I'm passing, everybody here. And so I end up, I put in a little bit of a dig there, like a little over 1,000 watts, and now I'm cruising a little bit here. But I find myself cruising too fast, and I end up cruising all the way to the front of the peloton. So there's a few guys off of the front at the moment, and I want to say like 3 or 4 guys, maybe a couple more than that, but they've gone off on the front. Mustang Rider is on the front and just in front of me right now, and then he's about to take off and go catch the other guy that just went by me. There's Max off to the right there. He's following my wheel as well, moving on up in the peloton. So right now I'm leading out the pack, doing 600, 700 watts. I don't need to be on front. I don't need to be leading out 100 guys in this race. So I think I remember looking back at points while I was sitting there on the front, like, are you guys gonna get up here? Are you gonna help? And they may have had, a teammate or something out there in that little break that was out front. But I think I was looking back like, I don't need to be on the front, guys. and you can see me, I'm kind of swerving to the right and to the left a little bit. Trying to get off the front, trying to move around a little bit, trying to, and I'm letting off the gas, I think, finally, a little bit here. But yeah, I at this point, like, I'm not trying to catch up, and I can't remember. I was trying to listen to see what they were saying, but I'm over here leading out this whole lap basically, and yeah, I find a place to kind of pull on over, and I'm like, hey, yeah, I don't need to be there. So I made it to the front of this national race out here and leading out the pack. But yeah, I don't have any teammates. There's no reason for me to be out front. I went a little bit too crazy there and got out a little bit too far. Don't need to be there. I need to be close to the front, but I definitely don't need to be on the front. So yeah, trying to drift my way back a little bit and try to draft a little bit more in the back of the peloton here. that works out a little bit better for me than trying to lead out the pack going 30 something miles an hour, pushing over 600, 700 watts out there. Definitely don't need to be doing that. So here we go, coming down to the last 5,000 meters of the race, and things are starting to get a little bit spicy. I've kind of drifted a little bit. I was on the front, and then I kind of sat, kind of towards the front, and I've kind of drifted, somewhere in the middle there. Things are happening out front. I think, a few guys are still out there, doing their thing in a little bit of a break. But for the most part, like we've been going really, really fast in this race, and like I said, we averaged 29 miles an hour. So this is the fastest race that I've been a part of. So averaging 29 miles an hour, and then going on a breakaway is pretty tough when you've got 100 guys in the peloton coming after you. Going at just as fast or faster. So it's very, very tough to stay away in this one. And so since this is, the first national level race that I've done as a Cat 2, I didn't know exactly what to expect. Obviously I can hang in there with the speed and the strength of everybody and all that on this course. But the other thing that I wasn't expecting going into this weekend was not having other teammates that were going to be with me. Like I said in some previous videos, Terrell ended up, getting injured, and he was hit by a car earlier this year, and then Derek was supposed to be there but wasn't able to because of work, and then Grant was supposed to be there in this race as well, but wasn't able to come on the first day. So being by myself in this race in this national level with this many guys, it's a little tough to kind of navigate, especially when you've got other big teams in the race that are kind of controlling basically everything. So I was just I knew that it would be tough for me to win. That's always the goal. You want to go into a race thinking that you're going to win, but I knew it was going to be tough, without teammates and without a little bit of help there. And on this national stage, some of these guys have already been out here before and kind of got the course down and know a little bit more about navigating and all that. And that's one thing. Like when a little bit beforehand, or if you've been there before, you can kind of gauge when things are going to happen. Like I didn't know, being in a 55-minute race, I didn't know exactly like when things were going to pop off. Sometimes you think, okay, with 5 laps to go, okay, that's when you need to move up. But a lot of times, teams are like, oh, with 8 laps to go or 10 laps to go, or they change it up. So you just never know when things are going to kind of pop off. And probably, I should have fought a little bit harder to stay closer to the front in this one. Top half or top quarter of the race, and that way I would have been able to, kind of navigate a little bit better. But yeah, being that first time in this big race like this, I was really just kind of cruising in the peloton, just making sure I finished the race and all that stuff. So not as competitive as I wanted to be in this one, and obviously being a little bit tired throughout the day and going into this one as well, some other factors. But I think now looking at the video footage and looking at some of the other guys' video footage on YouTube already that have posted, I've kind of gotten an idea of how to navigate this one better for possibly next year or something like that. So if I'm able to come back and do this race again, I'd like to give it another try with a little bit more competitive edge, and maybe I'll have some teammates next time as well, so that would help out a lot. But we're closing in on the last couple laps here. You can see the time out there on the right, 52 minutes into the race. So yeah, 3 minutes left or whatever. And the meters left on the race there. So 1,600 meters. I think this is actually the last lap we're coming into right here. Yeah, so I'm hearing the bell. I'm hearing the announcer and everything calling out that. So I think this is the last lap. And I'm just trying to finish out strong here, just trying to make sure that, I make it to the finish line upright and it looks like I'm way in the back, but I think a lot of guys have gotten pulled as well in this race, maybe, because you know where I finished is not. It wasn't like super close to the back or anything like that. There goes Logan. He's done his duty for his team. That was the Logan for the Mustangs. Like I said, I give the race announcers were giving shout outs to the Mustangs. They were doing an awesome job on this weekend, and hopefully you'll kind of see that a little bit in the future videos that I post here. And yeah, it just sucks that I didn't have my X4 video for the front cam and all that on this one, but I'm moving up in the last 700 meters just a little bit. You can see the motorcycle's back there, but I mean, there's no point in me trying to do anything. And there was a small crash right there. So I think those guys were actually at the front of the race there. Going into the third corner in the race. So we're getting ready to go into the fourth corner. That was a small crash going into the third corner there at the end of the race. And yeah, it sucks. And one of my friends, Chris, was actually in that wreck, and I think he was close to the front. So that could have been, a top 10 for him being out there. But they got a little tangled up and went down right there. So that sucks there. But yeah, here we go. Gonna finish out the last 100 meters here. I ended up, I think, 56th or something in the race. So yeah, like mid-pack. Nothing to, call out for or anything like that, but I think it was a good test, just to see where I'm at. This is the end of the season for me, the last few races. The fitness wasn't quite at the peak where it should have been for this, but that's also kind of my fault. Being a little bit busy the last couple months, and then trying to stay in shape for this is pretty tough, closing in on the last weekend of the season. But definitely had fun. Fastest race I've been a part of this year and ever, I think. Yeah, ever. So 29 miles an hour, and yeah, can't wait to come back out here to Gateway to chop it up again and see where I'm at possibly next year. So anyway, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you know when I post videos. Yo, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.